Welcome to In Focus with Silvana Pavlovska. Today is 26th of March, 2024, and it's a Tuesday. And this is part 2 of the segment which we did earlier today. That is the Prespa Agreement as cultural genocide of the Macedonian national identity towards the termination of an illegal treaty by Professor Dr. Igor Yanev. So let's have a look at this now. Yeah. I am going to show you the paper. So we'll go through it together. Here we go. Page 166. I think that's where we finished. There we go. So, yeah. I think it was about halfway. Here we go. As we have indicated above, says the professor, all 4 steps in domestic constitutional procedure were in violation of rules regarding the process of signing it, referendum on the names change, procedure in the parliament, and finally, illegal signature of the Speaker of the Parliament. Speaker of the Parliament, instead of the presidential signature at the end of that procedure. First, according to Article 119 of the Macedonian Constitution, only the President of the Republic of Macedonia could sign important political treaties as primus with respect to treaties, and other less important treaties that may have diplomatic nature needed mandatory presidential involvement if the Minister for Foreign Affairs have jurisdiction to sign. Clearly, the agreement regarding the change of the state's identity needed a signature from the president, that is the President Georgi Ivanov, and his involvement, and that was not the case with the Prespa Agreement. After signing the Prespa Agreement by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, that is Dimitrov, as explained previously, when President Ivanov declared that he will not give a final presidential signature for anything coming or deriving from that act, since he didn't have any role or part in the negotiation of the Prespa Agreement or any other step before signing it by Minister of Foreign Affairs in Novici. The place was called Novici back in 2017. This should be 2017. There's a typing error. With respect to that apparently illegal situation where the Minister of Foreign Affairs had signed the Prespa Agreement instead of the President himself, Professor of Constitutional Law in the University in Skopje, Mrs. Tanya Karakamisheva, commented, and we quote, "The law of ratification and execution of international agreements, regulation procedure, but also the law on foreign affairs, law on foreign affairs, both that precisely define the status of the foreign affairs minister as a government official regarding states' international relations. The laws that regulate authorization for concluding international agreements, as well as the entitlements of the foreign affairs minister in the process that precedes the act of the states committing to any treaty, provide the following. First, the President of the Republic has exclusive jurisdiction in the negotiation process, including the act of signing international agreements, which in case here have not included the numerous cause principle rules regulated in Article 3, Paragraph 2 in the law of conclusion. First, the President of the Republic has exclusive jurisdiction in the negotiating process, including the act of signing international agreements, which in case here have not included the numerous clauses, principles, rules regulated in Article 3, Paragraph 2 in the law for the conclusion, ratification and execution of the international agreements. Accordingly, this particular deed of the Minister of Foreign Affairs means that he undertook an action out of his jurisdiction. In other words, in its ultra vires act that violates the fundamental legal forms in the process of signing the international agreement. Second, the procedure for negotiating international agreements must be initiated by the president of the state. The decision for the inauguration of the negotiation process is made by the president, who takes the initiative whenever he thinks that the country should be a party to an international agreement. Also, there is another situation in which the president is empowered to make this decision if the majority of voters in the national referendum adopted the decision under the condition that more than half of the total number of voters cast their votes. Third, the president is to start a negotiation process on the conclusion of an international agreement if the assembly adopts a decision or if the proposal to start the negotiations comes from the government. And when a proposal originates from these instances, the final decision to begin with the negotiation process is made by the president. But in this case, in focus here, the act of negotiation was not taken under the statute entitlement, as the president was precluded from the negotiation process in the Prespa agreement process. And the government did not have any authority to negotiate over the Prespa agreement because the subject regulated by the treaty, that is the name of the country, Republic of Macedonia, do not comply with the provisions of Article 3, Paragraph 2 of the Constitution, which enumerate the fields in which the government could be active in this field. One should keep in mind that the state's name stems from the right of self-determination of the nations, which according to the international law have a status of EU's jus cogens norm. With respect to the Macedonian constitution norms, jus cogens norms in the domestic law hold a status of constitutional norms, albeit their origin is in the international law. Such international norms could be changed only by another legal norm with identical legal force and adopted in an adequate procedure. In other words, they may be altered only through another multilateral international agreement, but not through a bilateral agreement or constitutional amendments to any national constitution. Majority of constitutional law professors supported the view of Professor Tanya Karakamisheva, for instance, Professor Silvanovska, Professor Klimovsky, and most of other constitutional scholars in the Macedonian universities, and scholar from the presidency of Manu as the highest scientific authority in the country. Well, we shall leave that for now and continue the third segment very shortly in a separate broadcast. So thank you for listening to me. You've been listening to In Focus with Silvana Pavlovska, broadcasting from Melbourne, Australia. And we are talking about the Prespa Agreement as cultural genocide of the Macedonian national identity, a scholarly publication by Professor Dr. Igor Yanev. I shall see you shortly.